It's Dezm 101, and I'm back with another vlog. This time, I'm going to be telling you about my 2021 year in review. Doing what everybody else is doing, but of course, I'm a day late and a dollar short. But that's no problem, because I always like to do things my own way. And 2021 was a pretty rough year. We're still going through COVID, and it wasn't really great for multiple reasons for a lot of people, I think. There was a lot of losses and tough times. So there's not a whole lot to celebrate, but we're just going to take a look at the things that kind of popped up on my radar, not your typical top and worst of lists of 2021, just a few things that I kind of noticed going on throughout the year, and my observations and things that just kind of mattered to me. And it was a really busy year for me. I actually ended up working 2 jobs this year, switched jobs too, so personal life has been kind of wild. Some bad things that happened were politics, and then the house got flooded, and you might have seen my video on that. And so that basement had to get, this basement that I'm in right now, it had to get refloored, and we had to kind of scrounge up and figure out how to get that done because our insurance didn't cover it. And also one of my pets passed away this year, so that was really difficult for me. And otherwise, there was some pretty cool gaming stuff and interesting gaming stuff that happened this year, so let's take a look at a few of those. First is the Vita. There's a few topics for the PlayStation Vita. You guys know that I enjoy the PlayStation Vita quite a bit, and I have a PlayStation TV. And you might have seen my video on some of the homebrew games that I featured, taking a look at earlier this year. And the final PlayStation Vita games actually came out at the end of this year on December 16th, 2021. That was Mooseman and A Winter's Daydream. So that's kind of sad. The final Vita games were released, and you might have remembered that they were talking about closing the PlayStation Vita store, and there was such a huge reaction to it that Sony actually backtracked, and the store is still open. However, it's kind of nerfed and it doesn't really work that well. They seem to be disabling a lot of features, and it's having a lot of downtime, so it looks like it won't be up for that much longer. So if you want to get some of those games, PSP games, Vita games, PS1 games off PlayStation 4 for your Vita, PlayStation TV, now's a good time to do it before they finally do close that. And the ports on the PlayStation Vita were massive. So of course there was those homebrew games, but some of the biggest news around the Vita was the ports that came out this year from Android. So there was actually a number of different ports that came out. Some of the notable ones were like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Bully, and there's a few more. Let me take a look here that came out during Final Fantasy 3, 4, and 5, and 3 and 4 were the 3D versions. That's pretty cool. And Max Payne actually came out. So quite a number of games, and there's still a potential few more in the pipeline, so that's pretty exciting right now. In other news, the handhelds were a big deal this year, it seems like. Not only from some of the big time companies like Analog Pocket and Evercade. Steam Deck was announced, and it's supposed to be coming out early next year. But also things like the Retroid Pocket, I think a brand new version of that just came out. So everyone seems to be really into handheld gaming right now, especially for retro games. So that has been a massive deal. It seems like everybody's talking about that, getting new systems, and it's a pretty exciting time to see that stuff making a comeback right now. So that was one of the biggest trends that I saw. Also, there was a lot more of those newer retro consoles like the Evercade. That Versus just came out. Evercade is maybe the best example of a system that shows how to do kind of a reboot or a retro type of system properly, so that people really know about it, they're aware of it, and they have a lot of good community kind of feedback and stuff like that. So it seems like a really good project that has done well for itself. Some of the other ones that had a little more trouble were the Atari Vcs that was expected to maybe not release, and it did actually release, but it sounds like it's a little bit underwhelming, maybe an overpriced kind of mini PC, but still it came out to market. And the Polymega had a number of problems. as you might recall, where people were worried that it wasn't going to ship and it was delayed, but it did eventually come out, and it seems like people are enjoying that. Another one that is probably overpriced, and maybe the toughest of all the systems that's been having this year is the Amico, which was supposed to be released, but it's not come out yet, so I've been following that quite closely. I'm not super interested in it. I'm not going to buy one, but it's kind of been a very entertaining story to keep up with for the last year, to say the least. Tons of drama around it, and it's always kind of weird to see all the different opinions and takes around it. So it's one that's kind of interesting to follow right now. And shoot 'em ups are coming back, so you guys know that I am a huge fan of shoot 'em ups, and we saw games like R-Type Final 2, the Cotton reboots, tons of Cotton games coming out. I can't keep track of all of them. Natsuki Chronicles, and more. Tons of games, shoot 'em ups have been coming out. It seems like people are a lot more interested. There's a ton of games that have been coming out for arcade archives, even Switch ports of old arcade games. So it's just a great time to be into shoot 'em ups right now, and it's exciting to see it making such a comeback. And we can thank content creators like Shmup Junkie and Electric Underground, Mark from Electric Underground, and these guys are really making great shoot 'em up centric content that is helping generate a lot more interest in it, and even hosting events, competitions, and things like that. So it's a great time for retro gaming and shoot 'em ups right now. And lastly, hacks of retro games. Those really showed up on my radar this year. Lots of really impressive stuff going on right there. You might have heard that there is a Castlevania Symphony of the Night in the works, ported to the Sega Genesis, which looks fascinating, looks great so far. The same game, but the Saturn version, Dracula X, Nocturne and the Moonlight, actually got a hack that uses RAM expansion on the Sega Saturn to improve the performance, and it also gives quicker access to the map, which if you've played that game, you might know that that game is really annoying to try and get back and forth to your map while you're playing the game. And I actually did play that on stream, and testing it out, it played really great so far. I haven't finished the game, but that is a really cool version, something to be excited about. Another one for the Sega consoles is Doom 32X. I think it's called Doom Revival or something like that, but it's basically a hack of Doom that improves it massively and gives it some performance tweaks and some better music, and just all around much better game. I've been playing that a bit through my flash cart, and that thing is a lot of fun. And another one for Genesis is Mortal Kombat from Master Lin Kui, and that's a hack of Mortal Kombat 1 that adds back in a bunch of arcade stuff that was missing and improves it from the original version. It does have some controls issues. You really need to use an original 6-button Genesis controller, but this still is a really great hack to check out for Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis. And finally, last of these games that was a big deal, that was actually more of a massive translation and update to the game, is Bulk Slash on the Sega Saturn. And that's one of those more rare games that you don't see or hear about very often, but they added actual translations, support for the Sega Saturn dual arcade stick, and they also added voiceover. So it's like a full kind of localization effort to get it to this state, and that's really exciting because it looks like they probably have some more stuff in the pipeline coming up. Let's briefly talk about some low points of 2021 in gaming. Specifically, the number one thing that I noticed was those Wata grading scams. So it looks like there is some insider trading that's going on right now in the collection scene, and most people are really sick of it and don't support it. So it seems like it's really just a core group of people who are really intense collectors, or investors, I should say, and they are just inflating the value of a lot of these sealed games, not taking proper steps to verify the actual quality of the boxes and things like that, and just kind of ruining it for everybody, because now retro games are at their highest price. People are dropping out like crazy. A lot of YouTubers are stopping collecting and stuff like that, so it's just not a great time to be a collector of retro games, and a lot of it can be attributed to these Wata grading scams. So that's been pretty rough. Another low point of the year was NFTs, in my opinion. Not really a huge fan of crypto coin, and especially not NFTs. I think they're generally pretty wasteful. I don't think that there's a lot of inherent value to them, to the world in general, to creativity. There are some cases you can make why it's useful for music rights and people releasing music, but in general, a lot of artists who are pushing NFTs are doing it just kind of a part of that get rich quick kind of schemes. And you know, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm not trying to put hate on you. I just think that they're generally negative. They don't have a very positive impact, and it's just been a really annoying topic that's kind of flooded social media. A lot of good artists that I really like kind of turn their Twitter profiles into these NFT peddling platforms. So I can just be done with those, and I wish they'd go away, but they look like they're here in a bigger way in gaming more than ever. That's another thing that's really annoying. Another reason why I'm not really huge into modern contemporary gaming. I'm more into the retro stuff, obviously. And lastly, a couple low points were people who passed away, such as Masayuki Uemura from Nintendo, who designed the classic NES console look, and also Bu, who was the creator of Beast Nest and worked on Hygen, some of the best emulators ever created for Super NES. And it's always a huge loss when you have somebody like that who was such a positive impact on the scene for retro gamers like us to be kind of go through what they did. Alright, next let's talk about some pickups for the year. So I have been collecting as much as I can reasonably, and probably the biggest focus for me was NES games and Sega Genesis games. And I'm just going to briefly go over some games that I picked up this year that were kind of note. So I've got quite a number of NES games this year, but a bunch of them I'm not going to mention here, and a bunch of Genesis games, etc. And if you want to know some more of those, you can let me know in the comments. I'd be glad to fill you in. But we're just going to look at some of the big ones that I was able to get this year. And we'll start with this. Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast on PS2. Been wanting that one for a while. I had a backup copy, but now I have an official copy. Would love to get the Xbox version, but that is a really pricey item right now. We'll see maybe down the line. Here's one that I wanted for a while. It's a GameCube game. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. And this is a backup cover, like a reprinted cover, but it is the real official game in there. I ran it and tested it on my Wii. So I've been giving that a little bit of a shot. I'm really excited to play through the whole game. Finally have that in the collection. Here is a Sega CD game that I got towards the end of the year. Revengers of Vengeance. A pretty rare game. Hard to find. This one's in great shape. And not the best game. It's a fighting game with some RPG elements. But very happy to add that to my collection. I also did get Eternal Warriors on the Sega CD. Pretty happy to add that to collection. Didn't bring it with me right now, but it's there. Alright, how about some boxed NES games? Didn't get a ton. I actually completed the pinball boxed games for NES, so I have all of those. But here's one that I just got very recently, and that's Willow in the box. Really happy to have that one. One of the best Willow video games out there, maybe better than the arcade game. I really enjoy it. It's like an action-adventure kind of game. Definitely worth checking out. Beautiful box, love that one. One that I got not too long ago was the original Tetris. Really liked the design on that box. About the glare. Didn't want to take it out of the case. But yeah, Tetris is a game I am very nostalgic for, and this was a great version. Not as good as the Tengen version, but still a lot of fun. And some other ones that I got this year were Uninvited. So that's one that I've wanted for a long time. I have all three of the Mac Venture games on the NES now. So that's Deja Vu, Shadowgate, and Uninvited. This one is the rarest of the three. Super happy to have that one in the collection. And I got the original Mega Man this year. Paid a bit for it. Really ugly cover, fun game, very fond of this game. Happy to have that. I now have all the Mega Man games, but 5 and 4 are for the Famicom. I haven't got the actual NES cards for that. We'll see. I'll probably work on getting those at some point. And the crown jewel of the collection for this year was DuckTales 2. And it does have a damaged label there, you can see at the bottom. But otherwise, it's in pretty good shape. and it works fine. Very happy to have this in the collection. Not a cheap game, but because they had the damage, I got to pay a little bit less for it. And yeah, so that's about it for the year of 2021. There's a couple more updates that I wanted to give you for the channel. I'm going to plan on doing more vlogs and short form content like this to kind of fill the time between some of those larger projects. I am really busy with personal life and work, as you guys know and are familiar with. So expect delays in between those big projects like Gradius Lore and some of the other ones. I'm probably going to scale back on In Defense Of, maybe do a couple more this year, but it's not going to be a big focus. Didn't look like people who voted on the little poll for the channel weren't particularly interested in that, and they aren't my best performing videos, so we might leave them behind for now and trying to do more of these kind of quick short update videos and opinions and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. And if you guys don't know, I stream on Saturdays on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dezm101. You can catch me there usually every Saturday. And one special thing, last Saturday of every month, I actually do a DJ set. I'm here in my studio right now. Behind me is the DJ set right here. So you might, if you do tune in, you probably recognize some of the stuff behind me, the posters from my live set, especially when I DJ. So yeah, check that out. I would really support it if you guys can follow me on Twitch, or if you want to hang out on Saturdays. I usually play a lot of shoot 'em ups, or like I said, the last Saturday of the month is always a live DJ set. So play a bunch of different kinds of music, electronic music, usually underground, kind of not super well known. That's a good way to play music on Twitch because you won't get content ID'd and get copyright strikes and all that stuff. So that's why, one of the reasons I like to play that kind of music. It works out pretty good because it doesn't get flagged for copyright. So yeah, that's all my updates for this time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching this video. All my subscribers and followers on Twitter, I really appreciate you guys. I am planning to do a follower giveaway later this year, maybe a couple, to kind of show some appreciation for the support that I've got over the years. You know, I just do this as a fun hobby. I'm not trying to blow up my channel real big, but I still really appreciate you guys kind of supporting me and being my friends and kind of joining me with interest and passion in this hobby. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you have a great one. I hope you have a good 2021. Hope it's 2022. Hope it's better than 2021. And yeah, I will see you next time. All right, take care. Bye, guys.